Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're back with a brand new video and today we're talking about the DJI Mavic Mini 2. Once more guys. But we're not talking about the good things or the bad things. We're talking about the legal side of things, such as like drone laws, what you can do, what you can't do. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Florian. Good to see you guys. So, as mentioned, we're talking about the drone laws today. And I thought like we're stuck in lockdown number 3 within the United Kingdom, and I thought it would be a good time to talk through things. What you need to do since the new drone laws got updated in December 2020. And because we can't go out, right now is a perfect time to get everything done, get your drone registered, and you're ready to go as soon as the regulations, COVID, or whatever it might be, eases up again and we can go out flying. So we're starting off with the drone code from the CAA, and then we're talking through the general drone laws, regulation, guidelines you should follow or what is not allowed, and then we break it down a bit because there are a few things you can do even if you're having a DJI Mavic Mini 2 which falls under those regulations. So let's start off with the drone code in general. You always should make sure when you fly your drone that your drone is on site, that you always be able to see your drone. This means you can't fly behind any trees or any crowded places. You always should be able to see your drone on site when you fly. Always have eye contact to your drone basically. You can't fly higher than 120 meters or 400 feet. However, this counts from your highest altitude point. So this means if you would be climbing up a hill and you're on 500 meters and you set off a drone from a 500 meters, you can still fly 400 feet or 120 meters up. So it's always where your highest starting point is, where you set off your drone, plus 120 meters or 400 feet. Are you on a ground level? It's 120 meters, 400 feet, or if you're 500 meters high on a mountain, it is 400 feet or 120 meters above you. Never fly closer than 50 meters to people. Even when your drone is more than 50 meters away from people, it is safer to avoid directly overflying them. Same with buildings pretty much guys. Never fly closer than 50 meters to building, cars, trains or boats. Never fly closer than 150 meters to crowds of 1,000 people or more. Never fly directly over a crowd. That counts for buildings again, like higher buildings, bigger crowded places such as like big cities. Never fly closer than 150 meters to built up areas. Never fly directly over a built up area in general. You shouldn't fly closer than 5 or 6 kilometers in an airport's flight restriction zone. This counts also for military bases or for any sort of smaller airports, hobby airports, etc. So never fly in those areas in general. It avoids you a lot of trouble. Just don't do it. There's nothing to see. I'm sure there are way more interesting sceneries you can find flying somewhere else. So basically that's the 7 points from CAA where they're giving you as a regulation what you can't do or what you shouldn't do, and you should follow them as much as you can. However, breaking it a bit down into the classification of a drone, fitting the Mavic Mini 2 into a classification, and then we're coming back to the regulations and I'm giving you an insight what you actually still can do with your DJI Mavic Mini 2. And please guys, I don't say you can or you can't. It is the information I got off a CAA internet website, and I don't recommend to do so. I don't say you can't, you can. So I'm giving you just the insight, and you need to decide what is right or wrong for you guys and what is safe to do. So having the spreadsheet in front of us, you got on your left hand side all the subcategories, such as like your A1, A2, A3. Your operating area, this counts for all areas as mentioned already. You can't fly higher than 120 meters or 400 feet. No dropping of articles or no carriage of any dangerous goods, which is absolutely fine because we're flying because we want to capture the scenery, the landscape, or whatever we want to capture. So our drone will fall into the subcategory A1, and then it will fall into the drone classification C0, not a toy. So drone details. The Mavic Mini 2 is less than 250 grams, but probably flies more than 19 meters per second max speed. This means our operating date limitations is not applicable. Drone registration scheme required only if equipped with a camera, excluding a toy. The DJI Mavic Mini 2 is not classified as a toy, however it owns or it is fitted with the camera. Therefore, we need to register the DJI Mavic Mini 2. However, we don't need to do any CAA approved training course. We just need to read our manual and we need to register the drone, and then we're good to go. And this brings me down to the registration requirements or the registration process basically. If we check our weight requirements, we sit below 250 grams, not a toy, with a camera. You don't need a flyer ID, but you need to operator ID. And if we're going down to class mark requirements, it's exactly the same. Our drone sits at C0, not a toy, with camera. Therefore, we don't need a flyer ID, but we need to operator ID. The operator ID costs £9 per year. So you register your drone, and from a date on until the same date next year, you pay £9 for 1 year of registration of your drone, which is absolutely fine. It's like less than £1 per month, and I'm sure we all can spend less than £1 per month making sure that our drone is registered and we are legally and without any worry we can fly our drone and create what we create. So the process of the registration is pretty easy. You sign up on a CAA website, you put your details in, you pay your £9 upfront, and then the only thing you need to do is you need to provide your details, your name, your address, your date of birth, and then you basically register yourself that you own a drone. There are no information required about your drone. There is nothing else required besides from your home address, your details, and basically you need to pay the £9. Which I was a bit surprised about it, that it didn't ask which sort of drone you own, but to be quite frankly, it makes life definitely way easier. So coming back to the drone code itself, there are a few gaps where you actually can underfly the drone code, if this makes sense, with the DJI Mavic Mini 2. So basically, one of the drone codes used to be you shouldn't fly closer than 50 meters to people. However, because our drone falls under 250 grams and falls into the C0 or C1 class, this means that you actually can fly over uninvolved people. So if you have a look down here at the bottom, guys, the rule on minimum distance to people is different when flying small drones and model aircraft that are below 250 grams. You're flying a drone or a model aircraft that is lighter than 250 grams or is C0 class, you can fly closer to people than 50 meters and you can fly over them, which is absolutely fantastic, guys, because sometimes, let's say you would fly on an ocean side, seaside or whatever, and you want to have some people within a shot, you're technically allowed to overfly uninvolved people because of the size and the classification of a drone. Of course, if we're all doing so, it might happen that the drone classification get updated at some point, and the Mavic Mini can't do so anymore either in a couple of years time. This just counts for uninvolved people. This doesn't count for any crowds. So the regulation drone safe code still counts for crowds. You are not allowed to fly over any crowds at all. And the rule is basically your altitude should be the same distance away from your crowd as well. So let's say you would fly 50 meters high, you need to be at least 50 meters away from your crowd. There's no way around this, guys, and I wouldn't recommend you fly over crowds anyway. The risk is just too high. You never know what happens. Going down to, you should be 150 meters away from residential, commercial, industrial areas. However, with the DJI Mavic 1, DJI Mavic Mini 2, because it still falls under below 250 grams, you technically can fly in those areas as well, and you don't need to stay 150 meters away. So basically, if you have a look down here, you can fly small drones and model aircraft that are lighter than 250 grams or C0 or C1 class in residential, recreational, commercial and industrial areas, which gives us the opportunity to get images, footage, which other people can't get, which is, again, it is a nice thing to know you can do so. And if someone would approach you and would say you can't, yes you can. Those information are from the CAA. So basically, you need to know your rights, what you can do, what you can't do, and then you're absolutely fine. Nothing has changed towards like your airfields, aircraft. You can't fly there, stay 6 kilometers away, don't do it, don't take a risk. The trouble you potentially get is too high to take a risk just for some footage. Of course, if you got some sort of like written confirmation that you're allowed to film the airport with your drone whatsoever, you can do so for commercial use whatsoever. But generally speaking, stay away from those areas. I'm sure there are way more interesting areas, sceneries we can capture. So, okay guys, let's break this quickly down to make sure it is as simple, as easy as possible. DJI Mavic Mini, less than 250 grams, falls in the subcategory A1 and then into the category C0. Not a toy, but a camera. Therefore you need the operator ID, but not the flyer ID. However, everyone who would fly your drone, you're still responsible for your drone. So if something has happened, you as a person get a phone call. So make sure whoever maybe would fly your drone knows what this person does towards operating your drone. This counts also for yourself, guys. Make sure, fly safe and watch what you're doing. And I hope, guys, that this little breakdown gave you an insight of what you can do, what you can't do, what you should do, such as like register your drone. Guys, I hope you liked this video so far, and if you do, I would appreciate if you could like, comment and subscribe. Also let me know in the comments how you feel about my new lighting setup, and perhaps I'm gonna do a video about this as well at some point. So until then guys, thank you very much and I'll see you in the next one.